what is it what is it that the Iowa voters, on the basis of what you've seen here, what is it they're looking for? Every voter says they want a campaign of issues all the time, but is that what the numbers actually reflect in this poll?
Well, one of the things we like to do when we're creating poll questions is to pay attention to what people are saying. What are they complaining about? What are they looking for? And we heard people say Trump has nothing on the issues. He's thin on the issues. So we asked a question whether they wanted for each, your candidate, your first choice candidate, do you want more specific policy positions before you decide to vote? Or are you comfortable with this person figuring it out once they're in the White House? And the majority, for every candidate we tested, said they're comfortable waiting for them to be in the White House. Now, it's a little higher for Trump. 65% say that they trust him to figure it out versus 57% overall. But at the heart of that question was, is he playing by different rules from the other candidates? And it doesn't appear that he is. Same rules apply.
Ken, one of the elements in the poll showed that Ben Carson, who also has no qualifications like Donald Trump, has drawn pretty much even with Donald Trump. And you know better than most that TV time, ad buys certainly enhance someone's candidacy. It's done in New Hampshire for John Kasich. But Ben Carson's media campaign in Iowa and elsewhere in the country is basically waving out the window of a passing car as he arrives in town. How is this happening?
Yeah, it's interesting, and of course, I'm the ad geek, so I pay attention to this sort of stuff. But Donald Trump is obviously sucking up so much media oxygen nationally. But what's going on in Iowa? Certainly, I'm sure Donald Trump's getting lots of free media in Iowa. But Ben Carson is dominating the paid television air war. So, in places like Davenport and Ottumwa and Cedar Rapids and Des Moines, Carson has an advantage in the airwaves. And when you would expect advertising, paid advertising, to have an impact is when one side is up and the other sides aren't. And so he has really had generally the airwaves to himself, a little bit from Bobby Jindal, a little bit from a PAC that's supporting Lindsey Graham, but Ben Carson is winning the ad air war there, and looking at Ann's poll, it seems to have had an impact.
Ken, I'm going to stick with you on this question. The fact that Carson's doing so much advertising in Iowa, I think, is not widely known outside those who are actually seeing those ads. But the correlation between ad spending this early in the campaign and poll position is a pretty straightforward correlation. It's not the case with Hillary Clinton, though, who has the airwaves to herself, more or less, on the Democratic side out in Iowa, and yet her numbers are getting worse and worse. How do you explain that?
Yeah, I think that's really interesting, and maybe something that the folks having breakfast in the Naval Observatory might be paying attention to. Hillary Clinton has absolutely had the airways to herself with a very sizable buy in Iowa for fully the last month. And not only has she not gone up, but she's gone down. Now, obviously, there's a national media environment going on, and there's other issues going on, but if you have the airways all to yourself and you're not moving positive and you're not moving numbers in a positive way, what do you think is going to happen when everyone else is up and you're also taking shots from paid media as well? So that's a little bit of a tell, and I bet you something that the vice president's folks are paying attention to.
And one of your assets as a pollster, obviously, you just mentioned it, is the ability to listen to people that you're polling. When you're listening to the voters of Iowa, the contents of this poll, do you hear one overwhelming strain above any other? Is it like, I'm anti-government, I'm anti-politician? Is there one particular strong strain?
Well, I think it is very much that people feel disappointed in the way things have been going with government. And we've seen those in all kinds of polls, and not just in Iowa, that people say the nation is heading in the wrong direction. And that's been going on for years and years and years. And even though the players have changed out, they're still not feeling that there's any change. So to me, you have to look at the top of that Republican ticket and look at two people who've never held office and wonder, well, voters are saying they're ready to take that risk, that they have been so disappointed with the people who have proven track records that they're ready to say, okay, here's somebody that sounds smart, who sounds meaningful, and that their gut is right. Let's take a chance that they don't have the background.
And I'm going to stay with you just because I want to ask you, we spent a lot of time on the air over the last few days teasing through, talking about the headlines out of this poll. Trump's, where he's at, Ben Carson, the Hillary swoon, the Sanders surge. You have a couple of kind of hidden picks here of things to focus on, people have kind of overlooked. A sort of hidden winner and a hidden loser in the poll. Why don't you talk about that?
Yeah. Well, the hidden winner, in a way, I think is Bobby Jindal, in that his favorability has grown 18 points since the last time we were in the field. And that's virtually a one-on-one, more people knowing who he is, and those people learning who he is liking him. It has not translated into votes. And so I think he's kind of lurking there and as having some upside potential. The hidden loser that nobody's really talking about is Rand Paul. And he was believed to have a benefit walking in, that his father had run here, spent a lot of time, kept a statewide organization in the state over 2 election cycles, and that he would be a known quantity to people who have that libertarian bent. And initially when we were polling, he was in double digits. He's now down to 4 percentage points, and his favorability has dropped from 55 down to 39. He's the hidden loser here.
You know, Ken, the hidden winners, hidden losers, the top 4 in this poll have a combined 65% of the recipients' respondents. They are, obviously, Trump, Cruz, not Cruz second, Trump, Carson, Cruz, and Carly Fiorina. And yet, a shorter period of time ago as 5, 6, 7 weeks, Scott Walker was thought to be, he's doing very well in Iowa. What do you do in terms of media if you're running Scott Walker's campaign at this stage?
Yeah, I think there's some bad news for Governor Walker in that poll as well. He's really gone down in all the Iowa polling. He's certainly gone down in Ann's polling. And it's a crowded atmosphere there, so it's not going to get easier to get your message out. And one of the interesting things about Trump is Trump was sort of sucking up all the oxygen at a time when candidates should have the chance to be a first mover, introduce themselves. So Governor Walker is definitely going to have to recalibrate and figure something out. But it's also an angry electorate. You named those 4 people. Those 4 people, Ted Cruz is a U.S. senator, but you certainly wouldn't call him establishment. And the 3 other leaders have never ever held elective office in their life, and 2 of them have never run for elective office in their life. But it is a agitated, angry Republican electorate that is clearly looking outside. They not only dislike President Obama, they're not only concerned about the direction of the country, they don't like Republicans in Congress.
And let me just finish up with you, and just in a few quick seconds here. Donald Trump, that anger, that mood of anger, good for him, I assume. Is Trump hit a ceiling yet in Iowa, or does he still have room to grow?
Well, 5 months ago, people were saying he'd hit the ceiling. So we've seen everything possible happen. His big flip on favorability makes me think he still has upside potential. But who knows? We'll see in the next poll.